The world's biggest tournament is coming, and the official FIFA World Cup 26 Try-Under competition ball is here at the Goal 90 shop. Designed for the game's biggest stage, it's built for precision, speed and control. Right now, you can make it yours with 30% off plus free shipping. Don't just watch the World Cup, own a piece of it. Visit goal90.shop today and order now.
Every football fan loves to argue about the best national teams. Brazil, France, Argentina, you name it. But today we're flipping the script, because for every powerhouse lifting trophies, there's another side struggling just to stay afloat. From nations that can't buy a win to teams still searching for their first ever goal in qualifiers. This video dives into the worst national team from every continent. And trust me, some of these records are painfully unbelievable. We're talking losing streaks, minus goal differences, and stories that are so tragic they almost become legendary. So buckle up, because this is world football's most brutal geography lesson. North America, Anguilla. Anguilla's football story reads more like a survival saga than a national side. This tiny Caribbean British territory is often the punchline in CONCACAF debates, but behind the losses lies a team that simply keeps showing up. They've never qualified for a single World Cup or Gold Cup, and their record is brutal. In head-to-head matchups, they've collected more than 70 losses, just 4 wins and 7 draws, with goals conceded swelling far beyond anything they've scored. One of their biggest wins came in February 2001, when Anguilla thrashed Montserrat 4-1, but such moments are rare outliers. Their worst results are staggering. Defeats by massive margins and consistency in losses has marked nearly every competitive campaign. More recently, in 2025 during World Cup qualifiers, they fell 3-0 at home to El Salvador and were soundly beaten by St. Vincent away. Their goal output is barely a half goal per game on average, while conceding more than 2 goals each match. The Anguilla Football Association oversees a domestic league played in front of dozens of spectators. Most national players balance football with work or school. Funding, professionalism, coaching depth, talent development, all are minimal. When they manage to train abroad or host international fixtures, administration and logistics often strain to meet standards. In a region with better resourced nations, Anguilla stands as the extreme underdog, not just because they lose, but because every match they play is a battle for relevance. Africa, Eritrea. In African football, plenty of nations struggle with results, but few have a story as complex and tragic as Eritrea. This small Horn of Africa nation isn't just losing matches, it's fighting to keep a football team alive. Eritrea is currently the only men's national team in the world unranked by FIFA. Not because they're inactive for a few months, but because they barely competed in over a decade. They've withdrawn from multiple major tournaments, including the 2015 and 2023 Africa Cup of Nations, and even the 2026 World Cup qualifiers, often citing logistical issues, but insiders know the real reason: fear of player defections. Over the years, entire Eritrean squads have vanished after tournaments, with players seeking asylum abroad to escape political repression back home. The Federation's fear of losing players has led to near total isolation. Without international fixtures, infrastructure, or funding, Eritrea's national team has effectively been frozen in time. Their best moment came in 2019 when they reached the CECAFA Cup final, proving that talent exists, but talent without stability can't survive. Since then, most progress has vanished. Compare that to other struggling nations like Seychelles or Somalia, who, despite heavy defeats and limited resources, at least keep showing up. Eritrea doesn't even get the chance. The system, political, social, and sporting, has shut its players off from the world. So when we talk about Africa's worst national team, Eritrea sadly takes the crown, not because of poor football, but because it's a team that can't even play the game anymore. Asia, India. On paper, India isn't the worst national team in Asia. There are smaller nations with far worse records. But when you weigh potential against performance, India might just be the continent's biggest footballing disappointment. Despite a population of over 1 billion, years of professional leagues, and a growing fan culture, the men's team has yet to qualify for a FIFA World Cup and rarely makes it past the group stage of the AFC Asian Cup. their recent form paints an even grimmer picture. India went winless throughout 2024, crashing out of the AFC Asian Cup after losing all 3 group games, 2-0 to Australia, 3-0 to Uzbekistan, and 1-0 to Syria, finishing without a single point or goal. That summed up a year where they couldn't manage a single victory against full-strength international sides, underlining how far the gap has grown between ambition and reality. Behind those results lies a deeper rot: corruption, politics, and mismanagement. The All India Football Federation, AIFF, has long been accused of functioning like a political playground. FIFA even suspended India once due to a third-party interference, a move that saw matches cancelled and hosting rights stripped. More recently, AIFF President Kalyan Chaubey faced allegations of bribery, conflict of interest, and contract manipulation, accusations that have shattered confidence in the system. Critics argue that decisions are made for loyalty, not merit, leaving India's football infrastructure stagnant and its players without proper pathways. The fallout is visible everywhere. Inconsistent coaching appointments, constant clashes between the ISL and I-League, and a youth system that fails to nurture or retain talent. Sponsors lose faith, clubs lose direction, and fans lose patience. So while India may not rank last in Asia, their results, controversies, and unending cycle of dysfunction make them the region's biggest footballing underachievers. A nation built for potential, still stuck in paperwork and politics. Europe, San Marino. When it comes to Europe's worst national team, no story fits the bill quite like San Marino. This tiny nation of just 34,000 people sits tucked inside Italy, smaller than some football stadiums, and its players aren't full-time pros. They're teachers, mechanics, shopkeepers, even accountants. Training sessions are scheduled around day jobs, and many players admit they sometimes head to international matches straight after work. Their record? Brutal. Across more than 200 matches, they've won just 3, drawn 11, and lost over 200, conceding nearly 900 goals while barely scoring 40. At one point, they went 20 years without a single win, and their defeats have become folklore. 10-0 to England, 13-0 to Germany, and 11-0 to the Netherlands. Even when they manage to score, it makes headlines. When they scored first against England in 1993, the world went mad. It was 1-0 to San Marino for about 8 seconds. But football loves an underdog, and 2024 became their redemption year. In September, San Marino beat Liechtenstein 1-0, their first competitive win ever, ending 2 decades of ridicule. 2 months later, they pulled off another miracle, a 3-1 away win, scoring multiple goals for the first time in their history and earning promotion in the Nations League. Oceania, American Samoa. When you list the worst national teams, American Samoa is almost always in the conversation, and for very real, often painful reasons. They're part of the OFC, Oceania Football Confederation, and have compiled a record few teams would envy. Across decades, their wins are extremely rare, losses are frequent, and some defeats are legendary. In fact, in April 2001, they suffered a 31-0 loss to Australia in a World Cup qualifier, the largest margin ever recorded in an international match in men's football. That one game alone cast a long shadow over their reputation. Statistically, their all-time record is brutal. Just 5 wins, 2 draws, and 41 losses, with 30 goals for and 301 conceded. In many matches, their average goals scored per game hovers below 1, while goals conceded often top 6. They often go into qualifiers or regional tournaments as obvious underdogs. Compounding it, they've had long stretches of inactivity and even periods where they've vanished from FIFA rankings due to lack of matches. But beneath the despair, there's a story of stubborn persistence. In 2011, after 30 straight defeats, they finally won a FIFA-sanctioned match, 2-1 over Tonga, and moments like that fueled folks to make a documentary, Next Goal Wins, chronicling their struggle and spirit. Many of their players juggle full-time jobs, travel from remote islands, and play with minimal resources. Their stadiums must conclude matches early due to village curfews. Their federation is small, budgets limited, and infrastructure underdeveloped. These aren't excuses, they're the conditions they battle every time they step on the pitch. So when we say worst in Oceania, we're not just listing poor results. American Samoa's case reflects broken systems, tiny populations, resource scarcity, brutal records, and a mentality trained in loss. And yet they still show up, week after week, tournament after tournament. That's heartbreaking, that's human, and in its own way, that is worthy of respect. South America, Venezuela. Once seen as a baseball country with a football problem, Venezuela carries the weight of continual underachievement. They are the only CONMEBOL nation to have never qualified for a FIFA World Cup, despite decades in the region. Their Copa America history is a catalogue of early exits, lopsided goal differences, and moments where they looked flat against even modest opponents. Their best continental performances came only after years of investment, but the consistency is missing. Venezuela's challenges are both cultural and structural. Unlike their neighbors where football is blood, baseball in Venezuela has long claimed youth attention, pulling away potential talent. Within the federation, chronic underfunding, shaky planning, and limited infrastructure plague every generation. Talent emerges, goals from Vinotintos, stars like Salomon Rondon, Dana Castellanos, Jefferson Soteldo, but the leap from regional promise to continental force never sticks. Political turmoil, economic collapse, and social instability have also battered the system. Clubs struggle to pay wages, youth academies often exist on shoestrings, and many domestic stars head abroad early just to survive. When national coaches change every few months, tactics never settle, making continuity impossible. In sad contrast to nations that bounce back, Venezuela's narrative is mostly stagnation, flashes of hope, long periods of collapse, and the persistent question, what if? In the cosmic hierarchy of South American football greatness, Venezuela remains the continent's almost team that never bursts through. And that's football's forgotten side, where the dream isn't to win a World Cup, it's just to score a goal, to get noticed, or to keep a team alive. So tell me, which of these teams do you think deserves their fairy tale moment next? Drop your pick in the comments, and hey, if you love stories that go beyond the scoreline, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell because we have got plenty more coming.